Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 7th webcast. This is sort of a really exciting topic for us. It's actually one that was requested by a lot of people who have been watching these webcasts, so I'm excited to dive into this one. It's all about building your David Webb jewelry collection. We are very lucky to have the founders of New York City Jewelry Week. Hello, how are you doing?
Hi.
Hi there. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm JB Jones, and one of the co-founders of Jewelry Week, and I'm super excited to be here today.
Great.
And I'm Bella Neyman, the other co-founder. This almost feels like, we're back at your boutique on Madison Avenue.
I wish. Oh my gosh, I'm ready for that. I pulled a few of our, your great press features. If you want to tell a little bit about New York City Jewelry Week, just to sort of situate people, and then I'll talk about David Webb and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So while we are working on our third year of New York City Jewelry Week, which is scheduled to take place on November 16th through the 22nd, we're really optimistic and excited for this year. We always anticipated it to be a big year for us, but so this year should be hopefully no different with some new additions. We are working with a lot of wonderful partners to create a week that is going to be a celebration of jewelry, which I think we are all going to need once we're all allowed back outside. But stay tuned, because this year we'll have not only a series of in real life events, but also a series of virtual events, which I think is going to be really exciting. And something that, we've been asked for a while too. So, yep.
Great. Thank you. So just a few housekeeping notes for people tuning in. There should be a chat box at the bottom of your screen that you can chat with other people who are viewing the talk. And then there's also a Q&A box. So as we move through the discussion about the different sort of pillars of David Webb, please feel free to put your questions down at the bottom, and we will get to it at the end. So with that, I want to introduce myself a little bit and sort of position us about the brand if people don't know. I'm Levi Higgs. I'm the archivist at David Webb. We're so lucky that we have a tremendous archive at David Webb. It's a company that dates back to 1948. So we have so many different sorts of materials. We've got drawings, renderings, sketches, style cards, which are like index cards of every piece that's ever been made, a whole plethora of magazine and newspaper clippings, anything you can imagine, we've got it. So that's sort of how we've been positioning all these talks. But this one, I'm excited to say, is all about sort of how you can start to build your own collection of David Webb. It's, it's such an amazing American heritage brand, and we have so many different sort of great categories of pieces that we really wanted to sort of look at, how best to dissect which, your entry points pretty much. Mm-hmm. So with that, we've sort of come up with these pillars, right? How do you feel about these pillars?
I want all of them.
Perfect. Good. A good start.
It's fascinating. I mean, just working with you in preparation of this conversation really helped me wrap my head around what David Webb does. I mean, it's such a massive, massive collection. Right. And one that you guys are still, going through the archives, releasing new things is so exciting. So yeah, I'm super excited about every part of this. I hope I can someday start my collection.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
So we sort of were thinking about these not as definitive pillars necessarily, but everything is a little fluid, right? If you've got your hammered gold, that can sort of sneak over here to the nail collection or whatever, and we'll get to that. But these are kind of the broad ideas. We've got rock crystal, the animals, colorful stones with the totems, all these different great ideas that are really iconic and important to the brand.
Yeah. And I think too, what is so interesting is how fluid, like you said, it is that you can really mix and match these things in your wardrobe, which I think is just so wonderful about this brand.
Totally.
And also, how do you decide which one to start with?
That's a very good question. Which I think dovetails perfectly into where we did choose to start, which is the nail collection.
Yes.
So just a little history on the nail collection. It came out in 1971. It was largely a unisex collection. I have the nail here. I'll use my cursor. This twisted nail bangle. I wear that all the time. Mm-hmm. Pretty much everyone who works at David Webb wears a nail ring. It's kind of this icon for the brand, and it's a great sort of starting place, I think.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Bella.
No, go ahead. Ask your question first.
I'm just curious, is there a significance to the nail? Do you know why David decided to choose that piece as like the singular sort of tool in the collection?
It's a good question. There's not necessarily like a definitive, here's his journal entry about why he chose to do the nail. I wish we had that sort of thing. I feel like it was a really sort of popular thing in the 60s and 70s to pick like utilitarian, tools to turn into jeweled objects. There's we have like paperclip cufflinks, and there's a lot of ropes and all these sorts of things that you could, that maybe a farmer would use or someone at your desk would use, but then it's bejeweled and turned into like this great object that you can wear. It's interesting to me that it's a unisex collection because like here's a historic lookbook page from 1971. And the lookbooks always sort of had a back page with a lot of things for men. And this is kind of the men's page, right? Because you've got these great gold signet rings, and there's not a lot of diamonds here necessarily. It's just like hammered gold, textured gold, bolts, nuts, links, and twisted nails. And these nails up here, these are like the railroad nails, like they're really long and thin. And you see that a lot in jewelry. So it's also interesting that, everyone thinks of Cartier with the nail, the love bracelet and all that, but interesting clue. But Aldo Cipulla, who designed for Cartier, he started his career at David Webb. So I'll leave it at that. But that's
interesting. I didn't know that. What I love about this piece is how fierce it is and how sexy and empowering I think the nail ring is. And there was something in in the wonderful Ruth Peltison book on David Webb that she says, David Webb used diamonds like Legos. And I think about that a lot when I think about this ring, because you have this addition of the diamonds, and it is just, I don't know, it's so sexy.
Right.
It's like,
there's all these sort of subtle different ways that, this one's hammered and it's got the diamonds. This one's polished and it has the diamonds. Yeah. Some men have them that are without the diamonds, and it's just the gold ring like you saw back here. This, here's sort of the perfect juxtaposition of anyone can wear this collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
but
it.
Also so many different ideas, sort of what you can do with that design, to your point, where like, kind of the end of the nail, forming that like nice little shape by where the opening of the cuff is, Do you know how, since we can't unfortunately try it on, how does the ring sit? Is it sort of just below your knuckles? Like how?
Yeah, you can sort of see these photos. They definitely fit right below the knuckle, and they're since it's twisted, you can sort of expand it or compress it as needed, and if you need it to be sized, it can sort of like twist open a little bit. We do the sizing, of course, but it can sort of fit any finger. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry guys, that was my dog.
That's okay. a little fan section.
One.
Love David Webb.
I love it. So that sort of moves us into the category of hammered gold, which of course is very iconic. And the Repoussé collection is kind of this perfect blend of the animals, which naturally everyone thinks of David Webb animals, but also like the intensely textured gold. So these Repoussé cuffs, Repoussé is like to push from behind. So like underneath the animal is sort of all this cavernous space where, you wear it as a cuff. But you've got this great animal sort of sitting on your wrist, and because it's gold, it's a very like kind of everyday piece, I think.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I think even though it is quite large in scale, that great with the t-shirt, great with the ball gown, right?
Right.
I wonder, my question, which I wonder about after looking at all these pictures and preparing for this conversation, how much gold is in this, and how heavy are these?
That's a very good question that I wish I knew the answer to. I wouldn't say, it certainly feels like a solid gold cuff. You can sort of see the thickness. Like maybe this edge is a little thicker than like the main body of the actual cuff, but you feel like you're wearing it, but I feel like that sort of emboldens you to be able to wear it, bravely, as we like to say.
Yeah. I agree. I think there's like power in the weight of jewelry when it's at scale. Yeah.
Definitely. I always talk about like significance in like the weight of a piece, and like when you have it on, you feel it and you know it. And I think that sort of, ladders all up to like how you're going to present yourself. Here's a few more great repoussé cuffs. And I think it's interesting the fact that like you wouldn't necessarily think of a walrus as the most like appealing animal in general for jewelry, but here it is as a great repoussé cup. And let me tell you, we have sold it a few times over. There's a pig one. There's here's an alligator. Like there can be sort of unsexy animals that David Webb thankfully makes very sexy.
So do people come in knowing which animal they want, or like, do they have to try them all on? And, are there sort of misconceptions? Like, I don't want a walrus, but oh my God, now I've tried it on. I'm in love with the walrus. Like, how
you'd be surprised who gravitates towards which one. I think some people come in and, they're only, leopard people, or they're only big cats or something, or I love snakes. Snake jewelry is my thing. You definitely sort of, everyone has their like spirit power animal, right? And we only have like a few at any given time. It's not like we have the full gamut of all the animals, even though we could make them for someone. If someone walked in and said, I want that walrus, we would put it back into production. So it sort of just depends, but like this was a great example that I had from the archive. This is Helen Gurley Brown, who was the editor-in-chief of Cosmo magazine, and here she is with her leopard repoussé cuff right there.
So do you think, David Webb was, such a, obviously such an iconic New York designer, loved the city, found so much inspiration. Do you think he like walked into the Central Park Zoo one day and like looked at the animals and was like, that's, where did that come from? Like those particular animals?
Right. Well, we have a book in the archive. We have a lot of books in the archive that David Webb owned himself. And one of them is called The Big Book of Wild Animals. I should have put a slide in here. I'm sorry I didn't. But it shows, it's like a children's book. It's not necessarily like a drawing book, although he does have a lot of like learn to draw horses books. The Big Book of Wild Animals came out in the 50s. Obviously he's an adult man by the 50s with his business fully established, but he's looking at this sort of picture book, and the animals are all drawn correctly, but they're not too cartoony, they're not too like scientific. There's sort of this nice artistic interpretation, and we sort of feel like that's where the ideas come from, especially the zebra. We'll get to the zebra in a minute, but I feel like he drew inspiration from a lot of different places. It very well could have been Central Park Zoo. It's right there, but.
And do you have you added?
No,
I'm
please.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm in love with those cuffs. I have all these questions. Have you added to any of the sort of more animals, or have you stuck with the ones that he drew and he designed?
Great question. They're definitely sort of the core group of like the original ones that he had come up with, and every so often there'd be a new one added in. Say most of them came out in the 60s and 70s. Maybe there's one that came out in 78 or in the 80s or something. The most recent addition, I think, is a group of dinosaurs. There was a client who loved dinosaurs, so there is a repoussé cuff with like a triceratops on it, which little far afield from the typical David Webb animal, but why not?
Cool. Awesome. All right.
This sort of leads us nicely into just the idea of hammered gold in general. This is actually an editorial that ran in Town and Country, and this man was an actual gold texture hammerer in the David Webb workshop working on a Bastille cuff. Here's a great image from our book that has all of these different amazing textured necklaces. Estee Lauder, like it doesn't get better than that. Okay. She was a huge fan of the brand, a client. Later in the 80s, they actually used some rock crystal cuffs in Estee Lauder perfume ad. Paulina had all the rock crystal bracelets on her wrists. It's fabulous. So we love this.
Well, question about the goldsmith. Within the workshop, do certain goldsmiths have specific jobs, like just texturing?
Oh, sure. Yeah. There's definitely one department that is just the texturing of gold. Yeah. And we have 39 different textures of gold that we can do.
Oh, wow. That was my next question. So
based on all the like chisel sizes. So you can sort of see you know, like this one's a little more roughly hewn, this one's a little smoother to look like this sort of braided texture, and this one's sort of flatter. You know, it's all comes down to the chisel size and shape. So I think like a pillar to really focus on if you were going to enter into David Webb and start your collection, like you need a hammered gold necklace, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just love how much presence these necklaces have. And I love how they're just so well balanced. And it's like, you know, throwing it like Estee Lauder wearing it with her turtleneck. Like it just, again, it's like so chic. It dresses up any outfit, you know?
Absolutely.
And so timeless too. Like this hot dog necklace is just.
Yep. Lauren Hutton right here. Hot dog.
Yeah.
This one just came out of the workshop. This is a photo from a few months ago that I took, but you know, here it is. They're all sort of these like really curving shapes that fit in to this great collared necklace that has such nice movement. So like no matter, you know, it's not stiff at all when you wear it. It just sort of contours naturally to your clavicle and your neck and shoulders, and it's beautiful with this like diamond section here. It's fabulous.
Yeah. Well, those diamonds just add such a nice sparkle to that gold that's already has such life. Like it's perfect.
Yeah. You're right. We need this. We do.
I love that you said, like for Estee Lauder wearing it with the turtleneck, like it can be, especially in that time period, like late 60s, early 70s, like the woman going to work and sort of, you know, glamming up her office attire. Obviously this is Jane Fonda on the red carpet, but like the Starlight necklace does have diamonds, but you know, if you had a crisp white shirt and some jeans and you were out to lunch with your friends, like why not?
Well, it's sort of like that day to night look, you know?
Yeah.
And I think these pieces are perfect for it.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think too, I love that picture of Jane Fonda in here. I think what is so inspiring about doing this, like sort of touch base about the collecting, is seeing all these powerful women, Helen Gurley Brown, Estee Lauder, Diana Friedland. Like these are women that made themselves who they, you know, they carved out that path, and they are women who have power, and this jewelry exudes that. And I think that's so exciting about the David Webb collection, is that and even in today's day and age, like you want to buy this for yourself, and that's really exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So another collection that we really like to talk about is the motif collection. This sort of sets us on a path that will dovetail in a lot of different collections, but motif is like a great way to have a piece that, you know, it's got the iconic enamel, which we'll really get into. It's got the studs. All these little stud bracelets have the collet set diamonds that look really sort of punk and powerful, and all the different shapes. Like, you know, this one's called the flight. This one's called the nightcap, the arrow, the unity. Like we called this collection the motif collection because they're all sort of these emblematic symbols, right? Your little arrow or what have you. And it's just this collection came out in the early 70s, and it's just a great way to like have a little piece of David Webb.
They're so fun. These are just, I think, I mean, really talk about like everyday pieces. These are really great.
Yeah.
Agreed. So sort of a big sister of the motif collection is all the Manhattan minimalism. Black and white enamel is so like an important brand pillar for me, at least thinking about all the different things that we have in the archive. Like the chevron ring really stands out as this important piece. There's sort of two different sizes. This is the little bigger size, and this is the little smaller size. You know, they're both like gonna pack a punch visually, and obviously pair well with whatever else that you have. But
and it's so iconic, right? I mean, you need this piece too. Absolutely.
And just like seeing black and white, like I've got some other images here as we go through, but these are, you know, contemporary images that could be from the 60s, could be from today. They happen to be from today, and they're both wearing the chevron ring here. You can sort of see it on Priyanka. And this is Rose Bryn, actually. But like, it's just graphic and bold, and I think that's like very David Webb.
So did the chevron, is that sort of dovetail with, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but like the zebra, like did he love sort of this black and white pattern? Is it just sort of like You know, there's also, I think in the 70s, you know, Deco, there's this revival of Deco. So is it coming from that? Like, where did the chevron motif kind of come from?
Yeah, I think of it as like, this is sort of a deconstructed houndstooth, right? So there's this great picture that we always reference of Jackie Kennedy at the opening of the Met Breuer. Well, back then it was the Whitney, right?
Yeah.
But it was a Breuer building,
Right.
modernist architecture, super geometric. She's wearing a houndstooth coat. That's a smaller houndstooth print, but it's just like modern architecture, modern art, graphic design, all these things that were happening in the 60s, like minimalism in general. You look at like Frank Stella paintings, it's all this sort of color blocking and I don't know, this kind of exuberant minimalism in a way.
It's what was around him.
Yeah.
It was in the air.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's zeitgeist. So perfect segue here. There's the chevron ring, a few different black enamel pieces, and then the zebra, which of course is an icon for David Webb. But the ability to sort of blur the line of patterning from an animal done with enamel and patterning that's just simply geometric, like it's great to be able to sort of blend those two, I think.
What I also love about David Webb jewelry, and I think this picture is just so emblematic of that, is that it's about sort of showing it all off. You know, it's like it's not like less is more. It's big. It's more is perfect. You know, I mean, and like mix the pieces together, sort of have fun with them. Wear the necklace, wear the rings, wear the bracelet. Like and they just all work so well together, even when you're mixing sort of these different collections or like the different pillars, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Very true. Little history on the zebra. Diana Vreeland was a big fan, of course. She's wearing, I mean, you know, this is sort of exactly what I was saying. Like, here's this fabulous printed geometric, almost like op art coat with like, you know, these shapes sort of going all the way around, like, I don't know, like an optical illusion. You can just see the zebra bracelet here. This is actually a Kenneth J. Lane bracelet that she has on the other wrist. So she mixed and matched all
she
of her
did, yeah.
as well. Truman Capote and Nan Kempner. That's the original drawing for the zebra, of course. And then we love to say that the zebra was just acquired by the Metropolitan Museum of Art in their permanent collection in 2018. And there it is on display. So definitely a piece worth acquiring once you can get to that level. It's probably our most popular and iconic animal bracelet. This, once again, just cementing the historic fact that, like, this is an Irving Penn shot from Vogue that Diana Vreeland was involved with. This is also an Irving Penn shot. This was, I think, March of 1964, and then this is a cover from September of 1964. But the fact that, like, the typography, the makeup, and the jewelry all sort of hit in the same black and white moment, like, you're right, it's just in the air. It's zeitgeist of bold, graphic 1960s feeling.
Stunning, so stunning.
So just like exploring the broadness of the animals, like, yes, you can get your sort of top of the pillar zebra, giraffe, like the big animal bracelets, but we also have what we call the baby animals. So this is the baby giraffe bangle, and he's got, you know, great giraffe heads and sort of a brick textured gold body, and then there's the giraffe ring over here. We have those for a few different sorts of animals. So there's like a zebra ring, there's a horse ring. They all sort of fit into this great little baby family, we like to call.
So much personality.
Very much so. And we can't not talk about frogs when we talk about the David Webb animals, because we do have the baby frog bangles here, all sorts of different colors, different eye combinations, and then the frog brooch.
Yeah, I love the texture, you know, on these bracelets, because I was looking at this image, and so is that like drops of water on the cuff? Like, what is that?
So these are drops of water on the leaf, but then the gold balls here, these are literally gold warts. So they're sort of little corkscrew, I don't know how to describe them. They almost look like little buns, like pastries, like tiny, tiny little gold, like swirls that make up the warts on the frog.
And then what about on the cuff?
On the cuff, those are just sort of, it's the same sort of wart. They're just a little smaller and a fewer on the body.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so are these hinged too? Like how do you?
Yep. You can sort of see it here. There's like a metal, I guess it's a hinge. It's sort of, pressurized so that when you open it,
you can
just
open it
put
up.
it on and it goes right on. Yeah.
Is there an animal that's most prevalent throughout his designs? Or I mean, I know the zebra is the most iconic. But...
Zebra is the most iconic and probably the most produced. I would say frogs. Honestly, David Webb himself said frogs were lucky, and he had like a big frog planter on his desk. He loved frogs. And I feel like frogs proliferate throughout the most different sorts of jewels. Like there are frog rings, there are frog earrings, there's bangles, there's big cuffs, there's the repoussé frog you saw. There's a lot of different frog brooches. Yeah, just thinking off the top of my head, I feel like frogs are the most like widely used. For good reason. I mean, they're cute.
Yeah.
Okay, I put this in for Bella because I know she's obsessed with it.
I've been obsessing. Well, just because I think, again, like going to our, to wearability and, jewelry is for everyone and it looks beautiful and, jewelry should be worn and loved and celebrated. And I mean, not only is he such a fashion icon, but, just he loves jewelry so much, and it's so great to see like how these pieces also like give him pleasure, so I love it. Yeah,
me too. He's doing justice to the pearl necklace trend for men, which I love. But the fact that he has like some of the most iconic David Webb animal bracelets, like the leopard, the lion, they're so good, and he wears them really well. So thank you, incredible. So the connection here, I'm going to say, is enamel, like moving from animals into big cocktail rings. I think like color, enamel, like big forms for a cocktail ring is a really important pillar for David Webb as well. You can work with all sorts of different stones. This is a great faceted yellow sapphire with marquee diamonds all around, a great blue sapphire, and I think this is a rubellite and then an amethyst.
They're like candy for your fingers. They're just amazing. I want all of them.
I know. Well, there was a great quote, and I'm gonna butcher it if I try, in the book from Eugenia Shepherd about how David Webb elevated costume jewelry. And, the what you want to wear is fine jewelry, especially in the 70s. But I think even now, that's what I think is so fascinating and also so American about it, is that he took fine jewelry, costume jewelry, mashed it together and made it this beautiful thing that is like candy that you just, you want all of it. And especially with these stone rings, it's just fabulous.
I mean, you could put on just one of these and you've accented your look perfectly. I feel like we've seen that a lot. And like the fact that you mentioned, the businesswoman, like that could be a very, great piece to wear to work. Like here, this is our ad from, I think 2014. It was Boldly Created, Boldly Worn ad campaign shot by Inez and Benood. And obviously we were sort of looking for the great classic studio portraiture that really fit with things from the archive. We had like done a lot of deep diving into the archive to really see what we could do to have a new ad campaign, but have it fit with what we've done in the past. And like a ring on every finger, it was just so like, I don't know, juicy. And we've kept that going. This is our Everyday Revelry campaign now from 2019, I think. The rings frozen in ice was so fun, and then they melted at the end of the book.
Well, Mother's Day is Sunday, folks, so come on.
That's true. But even here in this ad, like the fact that we have the nail ring, which is sort of, a great starting point of a classic David Webb ring, but mixed with all these other beautiful hard stones and colors, the coral, the sapphire, the turquoise and enamel, all these great pieces. So
I mean, why have one when you can have 10?
Exactly.
You got 10 fingers.
That's how we have 10 fingers, yes.
So moving into color, I think a really important piece for us to explore is the totem.
Yes.
I know Stelline calls the totems one of her jewelry holy grails, and I would agree with that.
I know JB feels the same way, I know.
Okay, good.
Fabulous. Well, I loved learning too, back to the point you guys were talking about, genderless jewelry, that he was making these as brooches, that David Webb was making these as brooches
That's
for
true.
men, which I found was really interesting. And I'm wondering, is that still today? Are men still interested in this kind of large piece as a brooch?
We have, I mean, once we move forward a little bit, you'll see some totems that are slightly smaller scale. Obviously, this is also from that Boldly Created, Boldly Worn campaign from 2014. This is two totems sort of stuck together. So there's like one there and then one here. Each section of a totem can come apart and be mixed and matched for whomever buys it. Well, I mean, you could buy this one and maybe you had this one as well. You could sort of move the pieces around if you wanted, is what I mean. They did in the past, you're right, have an attachment to make it a brooch if you wanted it to be on a lapel or on a coat or something. We haven't done that recently, but I feel like if someone wanted it, I mean, we could absolutely put that on there.
I would like that, please.
Yeah.
And you, Levi, you wear jewelry so beautifully. I feel like you can totally pull
you.
that off.
Oh, thank you. Well, I will explore that a little bit. I mean, you're right. I would totally wear one of these, like just this bottom section as a pin. I mean, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Stunning.
I mean, it's great as a necklace. Don't get me wrong. I will take it as a necklace. I love the extra long one. I just think so.
And this one too with 4 sections is great. I also love that you can wear them sort of, more glammed up with the wire collar, as we see here. But even, I mean, here's Nicole Richie on the red carpet wearing it with the leather cord, and it still looks like just as chic.
Yeah.
But she's also wearing it with is that also like a David Webb hammered?
No, I think this collar is something else, and then this long thing is something else. This was the only David Webb piece in that look.
Got it.
But it all speaks to each other, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the use of coral in these. I just think the coral ones are just so David Webb, but also just so striking.
Right. Yeah. This was an editorial in Town and Country, all about totems and sort of the history of where they came from. I can't quite remember where this one is from, but that's that fabulous long one as well. So we love totems; they're important. Okay, so
and then this.
This is like mic drop. Look at this.
I know.
Exactly. I mean, this is the absence of color in a lot of ways, but it's just so glam. Rock crystal. You can't talk about David Webb without talking about rock crystal. It's definitely a pillar. And just like hammered gold, there's so many different pieces that can be sort of entryways into this category. One of the pieces that I like to focus on is, I think it's called the White Knight cuff, and it's there's all these different sort of stackable rock crystal bangles. This was also from our Boldly Created, Boldly Worn ad campaign. There's the tuxedo ring right here on her pinky that's just like this tiny rock crystal ring, and it kind of brings you into that world. I think there's a quote of David Webb that something about rock crystal is the best white alternative to diamonds. And my favorite story is that he was at a party, Gloria Vanderbilt was there, and they were talking about the vulgarity of big diamonds. And she had on like a 1920s rock crystal pendant, and they were talking about how great rock crystal is to like sort of substitute for a big diamond, and and the rest is history.
So, I mean, these are all hand carved, and how long does it take for each piece like this to be made? I mean, they're so sculptural.
It's a good question. I wish I knew the exact answer. I feel like every piece would have a different answer, whether you're carving 2 sections here or just one for the ring. This great ring that Renee Zellweger wore when she won the Oscar year. This just has like the diamond straps sort of go over one piece here, and it's just fluted. We have all these amazing renderings in the archive that they're only for carvings. So it's like a schematic for how the fluting should go. So we've got all the specifications. We've got a great in-house carver who works with all of our hardstones. So,
Awesome.
And David, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we do this all the time.
All the time.
I was just going to say, I mean, what I think is so fascinating about it, and especially after reading the book, is that David was self-taught, right? And he was doing all of this. Like, he was carving this crystal. Like,
he may not have been, he was self-taught, he was a jeweler, and he could make things himself. But I would think by the time rock crystal came to be an important part of the business, which would be in the early 70s, David Webb as a business would have been so big that I don't think he would have been doing it himself at that point.
Okay, good.
I mean, there was certainly a point where he had like 200 jewelers working for him.
Wow.
It was a big production in the 60s and 70s. Right now we have like 20 to 25 jewelers. So, you know, it's a intimate workshop, but I couldn't tell you yay or nay if he carved crystal himself. The story I always hear is that, you know, he would be able to make one earring and then he'd hand it off to someone to finish the other earring because he was busy. You know, he had to be on the floor. He had to be talking to clients. I mean, he was such a personality. So I feel like that was really important for him to be the face.
Yeah, it's amazing just to think he was that connected anyway to the collection at that time. That's fascinating.
Right.
And what I love about these pieces too is whether, like, you know, you're wearing a stack or you're wearing one, they each have such power. So it's like such a great way to sort of, again, like start your, you know, rock crystal collection. And then like really you can build a collection and you can sort of enjoy the one piece and then like decide what you want next.
Definitely. I mean, we certainly have clients who come in who gravitate toward one thing or another, like, and that's the best part about having so many sort of avenues you can go down. It's like you come in for your rock crystal and that's really your lane and you enjoy it and you collect it and you sort of build this great rock crystal collection and it's one very particular look. Maybe some people are like, I'm an animal person. I want every animal in the zoo. You know, you've got all these different sort of categories you can explore in.
And do clients do that? Do they sort of think, okay, like today I'm coming in for this piece, but I want these two other pieces next, and like sort of build their own, like your wardrobe, your David Webb wardrobe.
Yep. You know, you sort of make your own pathway about like what you're gonna put in your basket as you walk down the David Webb path.
Just like this.
Yep. Yeah. Just a shopping cart. Here's some great looks on the red carpet that have rock crystal. Helen Mirren from a few years ago, Kate Bosworth, Rihanna. This is a sort of a double whammy. This is it's a triple whammy. It's an enameled rock crystal totem. So there you go.
That's it.
I mean, if Rihanna says it's good, you guys, that's it today. That's it. Yeah.
Right. Back into the color world. This is a collection we call the Streamline Collection, just because we thought it was sort of indicative of, like, you know, those steamliners and the ships and the trains of the, you know, everything had strap work, everything was sleek, and we sort of thought that fit with this collection. But
and enamel is such a great way for him to play with color too.
Well, enamel is such a great way for color, but these are all carnelian and I think this is agate. No, that's okay. Or this is chalcedony, I think.
Yeah.
But some parts of this collection do have enamel work, so it all fits together. One client that we like to talk about who loved this sort of collection is Estee Lauder. I think this is at a Met Gala, actually, if I'm not mistaken by this pillar, but could be wrong. She's got this green onyx version here on her neck and her earrings. That's the original rendering. And then here's one that we produced recently. It's sort of a play on the necklace she had with different colors. So you've got carnelian, green onyx, azure malachite, which is a really important stone for us that not a lot of other people use. It can be worn long. You can take the pendant off. You can shorten it in the back to make a bracelet, and like all these different sort of convertible moments with this piece. It's great.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
Great. And I think there just that idea of like him interpreting so many different points in time, like updating deco and now like an interpretation not of the 70s but from the 70s, and it's just so modern, and I think it's just fascinating how even today it's like the hottest thing.
Absolutely.
And like, you want that.
Okay, guys. Well, that is our prepared selection of slides, which hopefully gave you a little bit of information about where you can begin your collection. I got a lot of questions, so hold on. Let me scroll through here.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, this is a good question. What was the first piece that put David Webb on the map, so to say? There's all these different periods of David Webb, the company, and like he started the business in 1948. The 1950s were really sort of a great establishing period for him to get a lot of clients, give people what they wanted. And the first piece that pops into my mind with that question is a piece that was called the club pin. And this is in the book. If you have the David Webb book, it was called the club pin because so many ladies had it, that you were in the club if you had it, right? And it was just sort of this gold and diamond, like pinwheel sort of shape brooch that you could wear on your coat, your lapel, whatever. And it was everywhere. So if you Google the David Webb club pin, maybe you'll see what it looks like. It was a great piece.
Oh, I love that.
Let me see.
I'm gonna write that down.
We need to make Jewelry Week pins.
Yes, there you go. Okay, this is a question for you too. This is a question for you too. What do you think it is about David Webb designs that make them just as relevant and wearable today as they were when they were designed decades ago?
Oh,
yeah,
good question.
I would love your opinion on that.
Should I go, JB? Do you want to go?
No, you go. Okay.
Well, I think we've really sort of seen it. It's how empowering they are and how they really are sexy and modern. And when you put a piece of David Webb jewelry on, you just feel like you can sort of conquer the day. And so therefore, I mean, if we looked at all of these incredible women, like we mentioned, Estee Lauder, Diana Reland, and to the women wearing it today, I think that's what makes it relevant, is how they make you feel.
Great answer.
Great answer. Thank you. Okay, here's another one. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on how jewelry collecting will be contextualized and defined during the moment we're living in now, particularly with less socialization and more time at home. Very good question. I will first answer that by saying I am wearing my David Webb ring at home, so you can wear jewelry at home.
Yeah.
Well, I think now, I mean, jewelry has always marked, important occasions in history, whether it's your personal life or things that are happening around you. And I think that's as relevant as ever. We are in the midst of something that is, catastrophic, that is hard for us on a human level, but also one that I think forces us to think forward and to also think inward. And how we're going to live our lives coming out of this. And I think jewelry is a great marker of that. I know that I bought a piece of jewelry last week with that intention of what are the things that I want to remember and hold on to as we come out of this time. And I feel very lucky that I can do that. But I think going forward, jewelry will remain that as we go through time. So, of course, there's the fashion aspect and we want to wear it, just because we love it and we want to be in the club. But I think jewelry, in that way is timeless, and as humans, it's such a great personal object to have in our lives.
Totally.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of questions about the David Webb book, so I will mention that it's called The Quintessential American Jeweler by Ruth Peltison, and it's available on our website, so please check it out, and you can nab one there. Let's see, one other question. Someone asked, when it comes to your workshop, what sort of training goes into hiring someone new? Are they taught about the pillars of David Webb, or do they have all of their individual do they have individual jobs in focus?
That's a good question.
Very good question. I think that, we have people who work in the workshop now who have worked there since 1965, since the 70s. So those are sort of our master craftsmen, and everyone who is new who comes into David Webb, you'd learn from the best. Yes, everyone has specific jobs that they do. You've got your hammerers, you've got your carvers, your stone setters, all these different sort of jobs that you can have. Enamelist, of course, but you get brought into the fold very quickly, sure, you learn about the pillars because you're working with each different sort of piece. You know, over here someone's making a monkey brooch, over here someone's carving rock crystal. So you learn about them because you're just around them and you're making them. I would say that it's just kind of this handed down tradition that goes on in the workshop. We also have people who are like sons of original craftsmen. We have the guy who makes all the zebra bracelets. His name's Lorenzo. His father worked at David Webb and made all the zebra bracelets before him. So, you know, it's very much I don't know, sort of this great lineage that's just kept going.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that is remarkable. That there is this, you know, that you have generations working in the workshop. That to me so special.
I'm just going to scroll through the questions one last time.
I just saw a question pop up about what jewelry you're wearing right now, Levi.
Oh, I'm just, well, I don't know if anyone, I think I might be too small for people to see, but it's my David Webb coin ring. So it's an owl coin ring that I sourced the coin for. And then it's got sort of this laurel leaf pattern on the edge of it. And I wanted it to be hammered gold because of course that's an icon of the brand. So it's a David Webb hammered gold ancient coin ring that I wear all the time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, well, with that, I think we've, you know, exhausted all of our questions and ourselves talking about these fabulous pillars of David Webb. And I just want to thank you two for coming on to chat about this with me. That was a really good conversation. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's been so much fun. I wish I can try everything on. I wish it could like just off the screen, like just fly to me to Brooklyn.
Well, you know, once we open back up, we'll have you in and we can try everything on.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Please check out our website. We've got a ton of great stories about the things that we've talked about today on our website. Check out New York City Jewelry Week's website. It's down below on your screen. And stay tuned for the next webcast. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Be well.
Bye.